So
because they're
how do
wounded.
you right, how do you do that? How do you show that sympathy to those women but still get them to agree that it's ending a human life?
I tell people like okay, so first of all, you're never going to win an argument on Facebook. Okay. Like you're never going to win an argument like in a 365 comment like debate on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So like just don't do it. Um and like but I tell people like when I talk to women and you know and I talk to them about abortion, like, I'm always just like asking questions. I'm like, so, and they tell me like I've had an abortion. I'm like, oh, I'm like, well, what led you to have an abortion? Why did you feel like you needed to have an abortion? And they'll tell me, and I'll be like, oh, well, I didn't have support. I didn't feel like, and I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that you didn't feel like you had support, and I just try to empathize with them, because I've known what it's like to feel alone. I've known what it's like to feel unsupported in a situation, like even if it wasn't an unplanned pregnancy, right? I think we all know what it feels like to feel alone or unsupported or, whatever. And so I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry, you felt unsupported. And I'll ask them a question like, what do you think could have changed in your life at that moment so that you wouldn't have had an abortion? How do you think we could better serve women? And I just start getting their opinions about stuff, and I start asking them questions. And a lot of times like just hearing their opinion and letting them know that like their voices matter and their voices are important and we want to hear from them and we want to engage them in this process. And I'm like, and a lot of times I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you what I do. Like a lot of times I know what I do, but I'm like, let me tell you what I do. Like I run a ministry called Loveline and we support moms who are pregnant. We support single moms. We support single dads. We pay their rent. We pay their utilities. We help them get, budgeting assistance. We, pay for daycare. We, like I tell them, I'm like, do you think that would have been helpful to you? Do you think that would have made you feel more supported? And like when you tell them, like, this is what we're doing to help women, this is what we're actually doing to fill in that gap. A lot of times they're like, oh, wow, like I didn't know that was available. All right. They'll say, I wish that would have been available for me. And so just letting them know, like, this is out there and do you want to be involved in it? We've had women that have contacted us at Loveline that have donated to us. They're like, you know what? I'm actually pro-choice, but I'm going to donate to what you're doing because
That's great.
I wish I would have had that help when I was pregnant. And that's one step in bringing them over into our position.